Hi everyone, it's Raina. So this video is looking at the full moon in Capricorn on June 21st or 22nd, depending on where you live. If you hear rattling in the background, that's the cicada invasion that is still ongoing, and even with the windows closed, I have made recordings recently and I can hear them. So this is a very interesting full moon because it's taking place the day after the, where I live, it'll be the summer solstice. And of course, that's when the sun is at its strongest, at its peak. And so for us to have a full moon, which is a time when the sun and moon are opposing one another, to have it then is very special because the solstice time is a time of great energy. The sun is going into a cardinal sign, and the cardinal signs, which are Cancer, Capricorn, Libra, and Aries, are all signs of action, change, initiation. So it can be new beginnings, even though full moons sometimes are regarded as endings, but there's like the solstice energy is that beginning point, the entry into a cardinal sign. And so also Mercury is going to be in Cancer and Venus in Cancer. So not only will there be a lot of emotional sensitivity, but there can be a lot of change afoot. So whether we hear it on the news, because we're just coming out of the Gemini season, but there still may be things that are revealed to us or whatever. This is a time when things may really start to move. There can be a lot of family issues that arise at this time with the sun in Cancer, as well as Mercury and Venus, and even like nostalgia or the past. Oh, it's funny because being in the United States, I kind of didn't think about this, but this is the sun sign of the United States. The United States was born on the 4th of July. So this could definitely have the United States in the forefront of the news, maybe around the world, for what's happening here. But even wherever you live, your homeland, there could be strong patriotism, but also in your family. Now, sometimes people don't have very nice memories of their childhood or of their family of origin. So for those types of people, this may be a little bit challenging because old memories may resurface, and if they're not pleasant, that can be a bit difficult. But understand that it's for the highest good, because we want to be able to integrate anything that has happened in our past. We don't want to kind of shove it under the rug. Mercury in Cancer is definitely about memories from the past. So that's something that can be going on for you. Oh, this is a strawberry moon. And in North America, the indigenous populations some of them would name each full moon, and this one happens to be the strawberry moon because that's the time when the strawberries are becoming ripe and ready to pick. And obviously, if you live down under, you're not going to be able to relate to that one. But in any case, I wanted to talk about some of the energy that may be going on here. As I stated, this can feel like a blast from the past for you. You may be at this full moon because it is in Capricorn, which is a rather cold sign. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, so it's not known for its warmth, but it still will mimic kind of the typical emotional full moon vibe that sometimes we have because of the supporting energy. Now, because Capricorn and Cancer are opposite signs, and that there are multiple inner planets in Cancer, there are going to be oppositions besides the sun and moon. The sun is, well, I'll just say that the moon is opposing Mercury and the moon is opposing Venus. So I personally feel that there is something that has to do with news that could be possibly problematic because it's not specifically related to Mercury itself, because I see here the only thing about Mercury is the opposition from the moon, because I feel like this particular full moon can carry with it some illusion. The sun, moon, and Venus are squaring off to Neptune. And how this manifests, I mean, some of you may have some of these hard angles to Neptune in your natal chart. And how this can manifest is that people can find it hard to really understand themselves as it pertains to the sun. But with the moon, it can be like this sense of disillusionment, because something that you were hoping for may dissolve. You know, Neptune is about dissolving, and you may feel like you were counting on it to give you this transcendent feeling, which is really what Neptune is ultimately about. It's ultimately about the spiritual side of life. And unfortunately, we're living in a world that is not always going to give us what we dream of. And that's where the contrast comes in. And some people, especially if they have the moon squaring Neptune in their natal chart or some equivalent, can get worked up about things, and then it's not quite what they had hoped for. And so there's disappointment. There's a sense of letdown, a sense of being disillusioned, when in fact it would be much more helpful to cultivate a sense of, kind of a grounded expectation in life, whether it involves people, places, or things. And that doesn't mean that you can't enjoy a sense of anticipation. That is part of the fun of looking forward to something. But you're not like saying, this is going to change my life and I have to have this thing. That's where people get mistaken. So this could be news that comes into us where people have kind of invested emotionally into this thing, and they find out that it's not going to be the way that they had hoped. And I was actually reading someplace that there are going to be some important things that are settled in the month of June that can have a great impact. Now, I'm speaking again from my country of the United States, but that doesn't mean that that's not happening where you live. There's stuff happening all over the world. And by the way, Capricorn, when we had Pluto in Capricorn, that was really about the old guard falling. Capricorn is all about structures. So in the autumn in the northern hemisphere, or spring in the southern, there will be the last retrograde period. Well, Pluto is retrograde now, but I mean going back into Capricorn in the fall, in September through November. And that can be a time where we have to revisit this kind of authoritarian behavior. And yet, because it is going to be so temporary, it's kind of going to be like the man behind the curtain, where we already know that this is false. This full moon is actually the first of 2 full moons in Capricorn. So I think that is highly significant as now that I think about it, because the second one, and that's going to be the blue moon on July 21st, is going to be at 29 degrees of Capricorn, that critical degree. So that is really the summing up of what this whole Capricorn energy is about. And so whenever you have a transit, that 29th degree, it is something that's like a culmination. And that kind of heightens the effect of the end of that era. And it's not surprising to me that the last retrograde, where Pluto went back into Capricorn, it went back to about 27 degrees of Capricorn. So right around the same degree as this full moon in July. And so again, all the things that were tried on us to keep us in line, that authoritarian control. Another thing that I wanted to mention is that in the tarot, Capricorn is connected to the devil card. And we have, when we hear the word devil, we have this kind of like indoctrination, or maybe some people literally believe it, but whatever it is, I'm speaking about the lower energies. I'm not talking about an actual being. But, those lower energies can be personified in people, for sure. But one of the things that it can represent is this lust. The lust for materialism, being overly materialistic. Lust in terms of physical lust. Lust in terms of money. Oh, did I say material energy? But I meant like also power. And this is kind of like, since Capricorn can represent the government. And what Pluto in Capricorn is all about is purging that darkness from, and that impurity from these structures. Full moons are a time of purging. So it definitely could be kind of that theme of what Pluto and Capricorn has been about altogether, but it's at 1 degree. So it's the initial stage of something. That's why I think something is going to go down around this time. Now, it may be something that is revealed even before this, but full moons in and of themselves can reveal secrets, things that are hidden. But so it might be, around the 21st. But whatever is going on, this is not the end of that. And we're going to see that the bookend of these 2 full moons in Capricorn will tell the storylines. And the day after the summer solstice, that can play into it as well. Another thing for those people living in the United States is that in July, we will have a new moon the very next day after the nation celebrates its anniversary. I mean, it's solar return. On July 4th, on July 5th, we have a new moon in Cancer. So that new moon is on top of the chart of the United States. So aside from politics or world events, I think that this is going to be good for finances. I mean, you have to look in your individual chart where this full moon is going to fall for you. But the reason I'm saying this in part is because there is a trine between the moon and Mars. And Mars is in Taurus, which is an earth sign. And it's very enduring, Taurus. It rules the second house of earned income, so it's associated with money. But speaking of that Mars, it does make a square, a challenging angle to Pluto. We haven't seen this aspect in the full moon readings, or I don't remember seeing this for several months. And so I always am a little bit like, okay, this is kind of difficult because it's squaring off to Pluto. And that can be, something that is very violent, or the potential for violence. So please take heed of your surroundings. This is occurring on a Friday night, and it is exact at night in North America. So, and it's on a weekend. So there could be something that is hijacked where, people trying to remain in power utilize sometimes these occult, these times of great energy to kind of hijack it and gain control through that. But they really don't have control. We have to give away our power in order to even have it register. So be careful about what you believe and what you feel because of those, the hard angles to Neptune. There could be a lot of illusion, and people could be doing this to themselves. I'm not saying it's just always coming from the outside world. People, and sometimes, people go into that kind of denial and escapist mode because they don't want to feel the feelings, that the Cancer energy brings up, or deal with any kind of revelations that come out that challenge their previous views on things. And it's very important to be able to entertain possibilities that are different than your own. So in other words, keep an open mind is always a good thing. Not just keeping a mind that is not discerning and just is subject to manipulation. That's not what I'm talking about, but yeah, important to keep an open mind for sure at this time. Jupiter is now fully in Gemini. It's at 6 degrees at the time of this full moon, and Gemini is all about the media, and so there might be things that are coming out, and the media could be like just really raining down on us, And if a person, I was going to say if a person is not discerning, they may not have good quality control. I notice here that Jupiter is trining Pluto. That could also be good for money as well. But in addition, I feel like we're kind of blessed to have Jupiter in Gemini at this time in history, because we may find that not only are there multiple sources for things, which kind of challenges all the censorship that has been going on. Jupiter is about expansion, so expansion of how we get our news. If it wasn't for some people with foresight, we would still be relying on the same social media that really has been trying to present a one-sided view of life for quite a while now. And so thank God for those other outlets. But there will be even more potential ones. That is one possible interpretation. I am so glad, given the fact that we have that hard angle between Mars and Pluto, that the Moon and Mars form a trine, because that can be very good for constructive behavior. The Moon, if for those of you who have hard angles in your natal chart from the Moon to Mars, you probably know that it can be quite difficult, and it can, be easy to feel frustrated in life, or have issues with anger crop up, and with the friendly angles like the trine, this can be mitigated. This can be something that is not that way. And we need this, because the full moon heightens emotions as it is. We don't need a lot of volatile energy. Actually, Pluto is squaring off to Chiron. That really, that's why I actually like to talk about these events that are happening, because I'm talking about like the world events, or the news, if you will, kind of alluding to those things, because that's like the macrocosm. But in the microcosm, this can be reflected in people's own personal lives. And, with Pluto in a hard angle to Chiron, there's like something with healing has a hard time taking place. And it has to do with either a person, either these secrets that are still being kept from us. I mean, even if we hear certain things, it's not going to be everything, obviously. These things are going to come in waves. This may be one of the waves. And there's a saying, you're only as sick as your secrets. So whether you're dealing with this personally or in the collective, of course, look at where 1 degree of Aquarius falls in your chart, because you can see. And also, given the Chiron transits, Chiron has been transiting the sign of Aries for years. And so see where this square forms in your chart. But in general, the more that we purge, the more that we own our shadow, or the collective shadow, the shadow of a nation, the pain body, the pain body lessons. You can look at, now that I think about it, you can look at Chiron as the pain body. That's a term that I've heard Eckhart Tolle talk about, but I have a feeling it has its origin in Buddhism. And being able to embrace the pain body means that we're not, I don't mean by being identifying with victimhood. I mean, all those things that you say were these traumatic things that happened to you, that you can see that they had a purpose. It wasn't unnecessary suffering. Same with the collective, and also with Pluto, people trying to bully and terrorize. Why do they do that? They're doing that for control, and that's what Pluto's like, the dark, the lower nature, trying to control. Talking about that tarot card of Capricorn, I said Capricorn, the devil card, the Rider-Waite deck shows that, a person being manipulated like a puppet on a string. I want to correct that. Actually, that wasn't Rider-Waite. That's another deck that I own, but I think it's a really great one because and the Rider-Waite deck shows a man and a woman who are chained, and that's the bondage. So, 6 of one, half dozen of the other, same basic theme. So this is about not being afraid to look beneath the surface and own your shadow, basically. And then the suffering will start to subside. So, yeah, I think that's all I really wanted to say about this full moon in Capricorn, the strawberry moon. I hope you enjoyed this. If you would like a private reading, the link is below. Take care. Bye.